right, so 7 things you didn't know cause trauma. Word of the day is trauma. Trauma is any experience that results in significant fear, significant helplessness. You feel helpless. You feel like you don't have no control over that situation. That's helplessness. That's why childhood trauma is so bad, because you feel like you got to endure it or you got to get through it because everybody else is older. Everybody is in charge. Everybody else older got the power, right? Yeah. Right. So any experience that results in significant fear, helplessness, confusion, or other disruptive feelings. That's what trauma is. Saying of the day: forgive yourself for the survival patterns and traits you picked up while enduring trauma. Because we pick up survival patterns and traits when we go through trauma. This talk is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional guidance, advice, treatment, or diagnosis. If you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, substance use or abuse, or suicidal thoughts, dial 988. 988 is available 24/7 nationwide and staffed by trained crisis counselors who are just a text or a call away. 7 things you didn't know causes trauma. Trauma can affect anyone at any point in life, so it doesn't make a difference how old you are. You can experience trauma, all right? So not only difficult experiences during early childhood, but also events later in life can trigger significant trauma in individuals. The disruptive feelings of fear, remember this part, the disruptive feelings of fear, helplessness, and confusion are so intense that they can have long-lasting negative effects on a person's mental health and attitude. So these things can affect your mental health and your attitude. 7 things you didn't know cause trauma. Number 1, a lack of emotional attachment. You have emotional attachment when you was a kid with your parents?
Yeah, I think we all
If you was hurt,
I think we all do.
No, we don't all have emotional attachment, because some of us have parents who never said they love us. Some of us have parents who never hugged us. Some of us have parents that when something bad happened, they said, get over it. And they never processed it with you. So you're not guaranteed to have an emotional attachment with your parent. Lack of emotional attachment. People experiencing trauma can struggle with forming healthy relationships. Let me say it again. People experiencing trauma can struggle with forming healthy relationships. This can have its roots in an inconsistent emotional connection with your primary caregiver. This can have its roots in an inconsistent emotional connection with your primary caregiver. So whoever that was, the person in children's services, or your foster care parent, or your older sibling, or your mom, your dad, your grandmother, or your grandfather, whoever that was, a friend of the family who watched you most of the time, whoever that person was who was your primary caregiver, if they were inconsistent with their affection towards you, if they were inconsistent, that could be a problem. Emotional or physical neglect during the early stages of life can cause trauma for the child. Emotional or physical neglect. Y'all know what physical neglect is, right? Opposed to emotional neglect, because it's different. Physical neglect is they don't buy you clean clothes. They don't even wash the clothes you have. Physical neglect is they don't bathe you, they don't clean you regularly and send you out into the world like that. They don't comb your hair or putting on lotion and deodorant, grooming techniques, those type of things. Oh man, not feeding you properly, not getting a home cooked meal. The only meal you get is the meal at school. These kids today gonna experience that. The only meal they're going to get today is the meal they get at school. Emotional attachment is part of a child's primary motivational system. Emotional attachment is part of a child's primary motivational system. The same system that includes hunger. The same system that's in place that tells a child you need to go and eat. It's the same system in place that a child is going to hunger for emotional connection. Same way they hunger for food when they don't get it, they're going to hunger for emotional connection when they don't get it. They're going to get it somewhere. And it might not be a good place. The same system that includes hunger. So when the emotional needs of a child remain unfulfilled, it turns into trauma, hindering healthy growth and development for that child. 7 things you didn't know cause trauma. Personal loss. at any age. Sudden loss can be overwhelming, and many cause one to feel as if their entire world, and may cause one to feel as if their entire world has changed overnight. Losing a loved one can be incredibly traumatic, and this is why grief and trauma can overlap. Grief and trauma can overlap. It may be difficult to process emotions such as confusion or despair. Grief often causes anxiety and confusion because circumstances we once knew suddenly changed. Grief often causes anxiety and confusion because circumstances we once knew suddenly changed. There is no fixed time frame for getting over the death of a loved one. There's no fixed time frame. At times, it may seem easier to remain in denial. So, at times, it may seem easier to remain in denial where you can't believe that this person has died. You don't want to believe that this person has died. You can't come to grips with this person is gone. And this can prolong the hurt even more. 7 things you don't know cause trauma. Number 3, dysfunctional families. Dysfunctional families. We cannot choose the family that we're born into, and no family is perfect. But some families are more toxic than others. Nobody's family was perfect. I don't care how much money they had. I don't care if they had their mama and their daddy in the house. Don't make them perfect. But some families are more toxic than others. In a dysfunctional family comes apathy, neglect, and even abuse. In a dysfunctional family comes apathy, neglect, and even abuse. These negative family dynamics can cause trauma. These negative family dynamics can cause trauma. The vulnerable members feel unsafe. I'm going to tell you why this can cause trauma, because particularly if they're children or they might be an older person in the family, the vulnerable members feel unsafe as there are a lot of rules and little unconditional love. There is little unconditional love, which means the love comes with conditions. In a dysfunctional family, love comes with conditions. They don't just praise you just because you come in the house. Look at my son. I'm just glad you're here right now. See, unconditional love is, I love you just because you just walked into the house. Oh, man, y'all don't feel me. Okay. All right, the vulnerable members feel unsafe as there are a lot of rules and little unconditional love. Dysfunctional families usually resort to tactics such as gaslighting to divide members into groups. In a dysfunctional family, they're going to divide members into groups. So you might have a grandmother and she got the grandkids she like and the grandkids she don't like. You might have a mom and she got the son she likes and the son she doesn't like. Or the son she loves and the daughter she hates. It's crazy dynamics sometimes come in families.
Divide and conquer?
Yeah, divide and conquer, man. Divide and conquer even works in families. Dysfunctional families. People will divide and conquer. They will separate you from your brother. There's people in your family who would separate you from your sister. Have you and your brother not liking each other. You and your sister not liking each other. Oh, man, it still works. Dysfunctional families usually resort to tactics such as gaslighting to divide members into groups. And then this can make the isolated member feel insecure. The isolated member is usually called what? The black sheep of the family. And why do they call themselves the black sheep of the family? Because they feel isolated and they feel different than everybody else. They feel like they get different treatment than everybody else. Usually, to be honest, the black sheep of the family is the person in the family who will say some stuff that everybody else won't say. While everybody's saying, granddaddy done passed away, and everybody talking about how good granddaddy was and how he worked hard and he was a good person. But this person gonna be like, y'all know granddaddy wasn't good. Y'all know he wasn't good. He was mean. Y'all know he was abusive. Don't say that about granddaddy. Come on.
Yeah.
That's usually the black sheep of the family. They're going to say some stuff people don't want to hear. Dysfunctional families usually resort to tactics such as gaslighting to divide members into groups. And this can make the isolated member feel insecure and anxious, and prolonged feelings of anxiety and insecurity can cause trauma. 7 things you didn't know cause trauma. Number 4, chronic stress. Someone dealing with trauma can always feel on edge and it's difficult for them to let their guard down. Chronic stress can cause trauma as well. When you're stressed, your body is in a constant state of fight or flight, whatever your mood is. When you face drama or adversity, do you run or do you fight? Someone dealing with trauma can always feel on edge, and it's difficult for them to let their guard down. Chronic stress can cause trauma as well. When you're stressed, your body is in a constant state of fight and flight. This can cause you to feel insecure in your surroundings. There are many different factors that can cause chronic stress: work, relationships, or family. Repressed emotions can also cause emotional stress. It's a psychological strain and uneasiness caused by perceived situations of danger, threat, or personal loss. 7 things you didn't know cause trauma. Number 5, racism. Oh, y'all didn't know I was going to throw that one in there, huh? Yeah, it does. It causes trauma. Muhammad Ali said something in an interview that when he was a kid, he remembers seeing on the newspaper, somebody was reading a newspaper, and they had a picture of Emmett Till in the coffin. If you ever seen that picture, it's grotesque. Handsome little young kid. When they got brutalized, 2 white men murdered him and killed him because they thought he whistled at a white woman. So I think he was like 13 years old. They murdered him and then threw him in the river, tied something around his neck. His mom had sent him there for the summer to the South. And Muhammad Ali saw the newspaper. She had an open coffin. They're finna make a movie about it. It's already made. It's about to come out. But they had an open coffin, and they put the pictures in Jet magazine, I believe, at the time. And they also had it on the newspaper. And these pictures, like, freak people the heck out, man. To see that this is what people would actually do to a child. And Muhammad Ali was saying that he saw that newspaper, and it affected him for years and years and years and years to come. It changed him as a person. If you hear him as a boxer, as a grown man, he's still dealing with that trauma of watching that, because he's strictly talking about racism was major to him. Racism and mistreatment, not just racism of black people, but racism towards people around the world. That's one of the reasons why he didn't go to Vietnam. So trauma, man, racism causes trauma. Acts of racism instill fear and anxiety in those who experience them directly or even witness them. So it doesn't have to be you just experiencing it directly. It could be your child watching it go on, and that's a traumatic experience for your child. To watch you be mistreated. We got, we've seen the videos. Come on, y'all seen the videos. It was a lady being stopped by a white guy in front of her house. He was like, "Do you live here? What are you doing out here? Get out of here." And he was just causing a big scene. She was with her daughter. And she was like, "Do you live out here? And you can get," he was cussing at her. He was threatening her life. He was up in her face. I mean, this man was up in a woman's face. Her daughter was like, "Mom, get in the car." She's like, "No, I'm calling the police." Now it turns out he don't even live out there. His girlfriend lives out there. And she don't even own her house. She's renting. The lady who was giving a problem to, the black lady, owns her house in that community, in that neighborhood. But just imagine what her daughter got to feel, knowing that there's people out there in the world who will mistreat you just because of the color of your skin. It's racism, man. Racism causes trauma. Acts of racism instill fear and anxiety in those who experience them directly or even witness them. Racism affects many groups across different intersections of identity. Experiencing such distressing events repeatedly can lead to prolonged paranoia and various forms of trauma. 7 things you didn't know cause trauma. Number 6, financial insecurity. Now get this. Racism and financial insecurity are intrinsically linked. Poverty prevents a lack of stability, which can lead to paranoia, chronic stress, and anxiety, and eventually leads to trauma. The chronic stress caused by traumatic events like not having a stable place to live, being neglected, or not having enough food is toxic and detrimental to one's health. 7 things you didn't know cause trauma. And then the last and final one, number 7, medical malpractice or negligence. Anybody know somebody who went through medical malpractice or negligence? Y'all know what medical malpractice is? All right, yeah. Misdiagnosis. They said you had this, but you really had that. Or a medical malpractice. They were supposed to amputate your right leg, but they amputated your left leg.
I've heard of that.
So now you got to lose both legs. That could be traumatic. Yeah. They removed the wrong lung. You only get 2.
Ain't going down on that one.
Oh, bro. Medical malpractice or negligence, or somebody you know in your family walked into the hospital with a cough and didn't come back out. You see what I'm saying? That happens all the time. And I'm gonna be honest, man. That goes to racism too, because there's a lot of black women who get misdiagnosed, man. I'm being honest with you. It's very prevalent with black women getting misdiagnosed.
Heard that?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's doctors killing them. Yeah. Medical malpractice or negligence. Medical malpractice encompasses a misdiagnosis or an incorrect medical treatment. When you receive an incorrect diagnosis or in medical malpractice worsens the condition further, it can cause high levels of stress. If the misunderstanding is not cleared earlier, or if the issue is prolonged, it can trigger feelings of deep trauma in the patients as well as those around them. So this is also like we were saying about racism. Just watching somebody go through it can affect you and can cause trauma. Just watching a family member go through medical malpractice or negligence can cause trauma in the person that's observing it, because you're watching somebody who you love suffer oftentimes. If the misunderstanding is not cleared earlier, or if the issue is prolonged, it can trigger feelings of deep trauma in the patient as well as those around them. Trauma is a part of life, but there are ways to manage it with the right support system and the willingness to heal. You can live a healthier life. 7 things you didn't know cause trauma. We said number 1 was a lack of emotional attachment. We said number 2 was personal loss. We said number 3 was dysfunctional families. We said number 4 was chronic stress. We said number 5 is racism. We said number 6 is financial insecurity. And we said that number 7 is medical malpractice or negligence. Any questions or concerns?
For this, that they have doctors don't prescribe pain, the same amount of pain.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Black women.
Yeah, that's black people, period. Did you know
The
that?
idea that we tolerate pain more than
Did y'all know that's a real true report?
they're taught this.
Did y'all know that was really a true report? That's unheard of, but that's actually true. That doctors were teaching other doctors that black people, we have a higher tolerance or a higher threshold for pain.
There's about women that they have a higher tolerance to than men because of childbirth and that stuff. I don't know if it's true or not.
I mean, on the surface of it, being a 51-year-old man, that sounds like caca. Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, just on the surface of it, I'm not even investigating it right now. I'm just kind of weighing it with my, my intuition. That don't even sound, that don't pass the smell test. You know what I'm saying? Just repeat that one more time, though. Just say it one more time so we can all catch it.
I heard that women have a higher tolerance to pain because of childbirth, but I don't,
All right, I ain't, look, man, we ain't putting it on you. We ain't gonna kill the messenger. We just trying to dissect the silliness of it. That's all. We ain't putting it on you, but y'all, we know. We all on the same page, bro. We just all trying to examine it. We appreciate you bringing it up. Yeah, so can you imagine that? Saying that women can't experience as much pain as men because they have childbirth? Doesn't that sound like archaic? Don't that sound like some old medieval type beliefs?
Yes, like put a stick in your mouth and bite on it, you know
Right,
what I mean?
right. I mean, if you stab me in my arm and then you stab a woman in her arm, she's just gonna be walking around with a knife in her arm? Like, come on, man. Come on. Pain is pain. Pain is pain. Any other questions, concerns, or comments? All right.